Okay, in this video, I want to talk about a little protocol called JSON Keys that I found pretty useful for a bunch of situations. And the basic idea is that I think it's interesting to let someone who has a website make the complete contents of that site more easily traversable or discoverable. And what I mean by that is that if I have a sample site, like here's a little website, a little store that I made in web origami to show how easy it is to create a store. And this is just a little gallery of some prints that are on offer, and someone can click on the prints and buy them. So this little demo, that's a site out in production. It's a static site hosted on a CDN, and you can go up to that site in your browser and then say, I'd like to view source, and you can see the source of that site. The thing is that you're not really looking at the whole site, you're looking at a specific single resource. So here's the HTML for the home page. And if you're clever, you can sort of comb through this and find URLs like assets or prints, and you can act like a human web crawler and rediscover the resources that are made available on the site. But that seems sort of tedious, and it's not efficient for you. It's not efficient for a program to do. It seems like there should be a more efficient way to expose everything that's in a site in some fashion that you or your users can take advantage of at the level of view source, and that programs could take advantage of. Now, the web has one means for doing that. That's a sitemap. So we could add a sitemap.xml to this site. The thing is that sitemaps are really designed for the needs of search engines and the companies that run them. So it's a way of taking all the URLs for your site that are interesting from an SEO perspective and making those available at the top level in a giant in a giant file or a bunch of fragmented files. And that's not really, that's not going to include everything, and it's tuned for search. So it'll include things like the frequency with which it's updated and a bunch of other noise that someone who just wants to know what's in your site doesn't need to see. So I think a different way of doing that is this protocol that I'm calling JSON Keys. And the basic idea is that for any route, you can ask for that route plus .keys.json to get back an array of strings indicating the names of the files and subfolders at that point on the site. So here I see at the top level of the site that it's got an index page, and then it has subfolders for assets, prints, and artwork. And I can go further. I can say I want to look at the keys of the artwork folder. And I can do that at any level of this site. Anything that's got any route that would normally end with a slash, that's going to have a keys.json file. And that's something that, as a user, you can look at and see, oh, I see that it's got these files. And it's also something that can be used programmatically. So we can go over, I've got an empty folder here called demo. And I am going to use the origami CLI to explore that production site from here in the command line. Now, in the origami CLI, if I give it a URL like that cat print store, then I get back the contents of that specific resource, but I can also ask for origami to treat that site as a tree and then do an operation on it. So here I'm going to ask for the keys of the tree rooted at that URL. So this tree : that's a custom protocol that just is origami's way of knowing, oh, you want to treat this not as a single thing, but as the root of a tree, and then you want to hand that here to this keys function. So if I ask for the keys at that level, I see those keys, and then I can sort of go further. I can say, well, tell me what's tell me what's the keys inside of the, not images, I want artwork. So, okay, so this is one simple way to begin exploring the contents of that production site here in the command line, but we can do other things. So I can copy that entire site somewhere. So we're going to just copy it to the folder that we're in. So the origami CLI, this copy operation, does a tree traversal of the tree that's rooted here. And we get back the site's index page, the print pages, the fonts, all the other resources, the artwork. So all of that comes down locally. Now, of course, not every site wants to do this, but I think a lot of sites might want to do that. Why not? If you're interested in supporting the open web, this might be an interesting thing to do. We can also do other interesting things. So, for example, I've got, we could say serve that site with the debug features turned on. And now we're looking, this is a local web server that is mirroring the production site. So we can browse through this, and then if we click on something, under the covers, that's going to go out to the production site, get the resource, come back, and then serve it at this local address. So at the moment, this is just a mirror of that production site running locally. Why would we want to do that? Well, we also have access then to things like the origami debug commands. I can get a file listing at any point using the index command, or I can use the svg command to get a complete map of the site built. So this is, again, against the production site. So I've got here a diagram that was generated by the origami debug tool. It's showing me all the resources in the site, and it's explorable. I can click on that to go to a specific route and see what it looks like. So I think this is a really interesting way to both something you can do now and to imagine a world where debugging tools like the debuggers built into the browsers offered some service like this so that you could more easily explore everything that's on a site. In this case, this site is defined in origami. So if we switch over to the source for that site, I've got the source code for it. And there's a build command that I define an origami file that's going to define the structure of the site. And then I call a function at build time called static. This will augment the tree defined in my origami site with additional files. It'll add files that are of interest to static sites. That includes default index.html pages at each level if a folder doesn't define one. And it includes generating .keys.json files for every level of the hierarchy. And when I run a build, then I get a set of resources. So this is the built index page for that store, along with a built keys.json. And again, in each of these levels, there's going to be another one of these files. And the virtue of doing this with just simple JSON files is that these are then just static files that can get deployed wherever, however you want to deploy your site. There's not some special protocol needed for this. In fact, it's easy enough to define this, creating a JSON array of the keys. That's easy enough to do for other kinds of sites, not just ones that are hosted or built in origami. So here's a trivial little site that I'm running. This happens to be running on an Apache server, and I've got a little gist I put up. Here's a little PHP file that for any given route on the site will return back the keys.json file. So I'd be able to use the origami CLI, point it at this Apache site, and be able to diagram it, download it, copy it, things like that. So I think that's pretty interesting that you could do this on sites built with other tools, other static site generators, other systems. I also think this is interesting to imagine exposing the contents of one site to another. So, maybe you've got site A here, which has a set of resources, files, could be images, could be data, could be HTML. And you've got a site B somewhere else that wants to get resources from site A. If site A is, if you want to do that, you might need to invent some protocol by which site B can discover the complete set of resources that site A has to offer. But in this case, you could just use this JSON Keys protocol. It's pretty simple. And if a bunch of people were doing this, then there'd be some critical mass, a set of tooling, and we might end up in a world where lots of sites are exposing their contents in this way so that they can be more easily traversable, both by you as a user sitting in your browser and through tools. I hope you found this interesting. Thanks for listening.